Hello and welcome to the discussion of the prelims paper of Jammu Kashmir Public Service Commissions for the year 2022. I am Aman Soni and I'll be discussing with you the economic portion of this paper. I have been discussing UPSC prelims papers, mains paper from quite a long time. I have experience around 10 years. But if I see this paper, I really like this paper. Why I like this paper was a very good mixture of conceptual questions, factual questions, current updates. So this was like a sort of holistic examination which was conducted by the commission. So now let's just discuss the economics part. The first question, it is regarding demonetization. First question is like question number 15. We are discussing the C series. All right. So the question is, which among the following statements are true with respect to Indian economy? First question is, demonetization is the act of stripping money of its legal tender status. That is, this statement is correct because look, even when we listen the speech of PM in 2016 regarding demonetization, first thing which he said was, from now onwards, the 500 rupees and 1000 rupee notes will stop to be a legal tender. So that is what is called demonetization. It is stripping money of its legal tender status. Now they cannot be used as transaction. Second is, an increase in CRR by the RBI increases the money multiplication in the market. No, this won't happen. So suppose people are depositing money with the bank. Suppose they're depositing 100 rupees with the bank, and suppose CRR is 4%. Then obviously 4 rupees would go to RBI, and suppose SLR is 18%. So obviously 4 gone to RBI, 18 SLR, 72 gone, 22 gone, 78 rupees can be lent. All right. Now on the other hand, if CRR is increased from say 4% to 10%, it doesn't happen that this much of increase will be there, but just to make you understand, suppose CRR is increased from 4% to 10%, then obviously here 10 rupees gone, here 18 rupees gone, 28 gone. Money which can be lent now is 72. So point is, if CRR is increased, the lending capacity of the bank reduces. If the lending capacity of the bank reduces, obviously the money multiplier effect will reduce. So increase in CRR will not increase the money multiplication in the market. This statement is wrong. All right, so if the second is wrong, we eliminate A and B. Third statement is haircut. It's a very good concept. Haircut reflects the borrower's perception of the risk of falls in value of assets. No, this is wrong. Haircut is not regarding borrower's perception. First of all, haircut means, what is haircut? It's actually difference between the value of asset minus value recovered from the asset. In simpler words, suppose outstanding amount for a bank is say 1 lakh crore rupees, and the bank is able to recover the depositor only 80,000 crore rupees. So 1 lakh crore rupees was outstanding, 80,000 crore is being recovered, 20,000 crore rupees will be the haircut. So this is sort of loss for the bank while doing recovery. All right. So haircut does not reflect the borrower's perception of risk of falls in value of asset. This statement is wrong. Only first statement is correct. Answer will be D. All right. Let's now move to next question. Yes. Now second question is regarding Basel norms. very conceptual question, I would say. Means extremely good question. So first of all, extremely good question from economics perspective, but very difficult question from a student perspective. All right. So my responsibility is to discuss it. I would be discussing it with you, but I really doubt if you would be able to do this question. If someone is guessing it, that won't be right option to do in this question, because the guesses will be difficult. All right. So, and normally you don't find these things in textbooks, in study materials. You don't get this. All right. I would rate this question as very difficult. Very difficult question. I would be the rating. The previous question was still very easy. It was really very easy question regarding demonetization, regarding CRR, regarding haircut. Those questions, haircut comes in the newspaper. Then CRR, it's a concept. Demonetization is a concept. The previous question was a very good mixture of current affairs and facts and concepts also. This question is conceptual question, very difficult conceptual questions. I would recommend you to leave it. So let's discuss the question. तो क्वेश्चन क्या है कि assertion and reasoning. So point is they have added a mental ability question in a GS paper. It's pretty good. So additional tier 1 bonds are used by the banks to augment their core equity base and thus comply with Basel III norms. This assertion is the statement is totally correct. That for Basel norms, what the banks have to do is that Basel norms are what? Basel norms are released by Bank for International Settlement. These are norms, these are guidelines which are to be followed by the banks all over the world. All right. So Basel norms, it mentioned about tier 1 capital, tier 2 capital, which the bank has to maintain. And tier 1 capital, it includes like these additional tier 1 bonds are used by banks to augment their core equity base. This statement is correct. Tier 1 bonds are used by the banks to augment their core equity base and they'll comply with Basel III norms. Second part is bonds, the additional tier 1 bonds are long-term bonds. They are not long-term bonds. They do not have as such an immaturity period. All right. Just is you can just, it's not that they'll be maturing and we will be getting the money. We can just, we can sell it to someone else and get the money, but there is no maturity period for them. So this statement is wrong. So we're left with only one, C option, that A is true but R is false. All right. So the second statement is wrong. All right. So hence the reasoning is wrong. Let's move to second question. Third question rather. This is a direct factual question. That what is a broad money? I won't be discussing much of this because direct simple question is what is broad money? It is currency with the public plus demand deposit with bank plus other deposits with RBI plus time deposits with banks. This is what is called broad money. All right. So answer would be B for the 17th question. Next question again, little bit complicated. Here we would be getting the answer by negation. So what is the question? Question is, which of the following could be said to have prevented trickle-down effects in Indian economy? What is trickle-down effect? Trickle-down effect is when the growth, it happens in heavy industries. That is when heavy industries are set up, when large companies are set up, and then to support them, small industries are set up. That is called trickle-down effect. That is, first the growth will happen at the top and then gradually the growth would start going down. That is what is called trickle-down effect. All right. So now, what could have prevented trickle-down effect? Very difficult to get it. What we would do is, we would find those things which can lead to trickle-down effect and then we negate that part. So obviously other statements would be those things which were actually prevented trickle-down effect. All right. So if you see the third statement, it says lower participation of women in agriculture work field. Sorry, not third one. You see the second one. More employment of labor by larger land holding farmers Look, larger land holding farmers, they can even use machineries. But if larger land use larger farmers who have large lands, if they are using more of farmers, more of landless laborers for employment, don't you think the large farmers, they'll make money? Small farmers, small landless laborers, they would also get some money. So don't you think the whole growth process is going to go down? So this second statement, it is surely leading to trickle down effect. So what could have prevented? Obviously, second will not be preventing. Question is, what will prevent trickle down effect? Second will actually enable trickle down effect. It will enable trickle down effect. So all those options which contain second will be wrong. 1 and 2 is wrong, 2 and 3 is wrong, 2 and 4 is wrong. Correct answer is 1 and 3. That 1 and 3, it would lead to trickle down effect. All right. Now let's move to the next question. Next question is regarding stock market. All right. So let's see what the question is. Question is, which among the following statements are correct regarding the share market operations? Look, it's not that complicated question. Because look, yes, I understand share market is not that important for UPSC or state services examination. Yes, this question is from stock market chapter, but the point is the terms which are being asked over here, they are used in our day-to-day life. They are coming in the newspaper on regular basis. A normal aspirant, he should know what is bear and bullish market. All right. And top of that, stock market has been going down in the last 6 months. And for the last 2 years, stock market was going up. So all these things were in news. For the last 2 years, stock market was bullish. Last 6 months, stock market is bearish. We need to know these terms. So, which among the following statements are correct regarding the share market operations? A bear is a person who speculates share prices to fall in future and so sells his shares and earns a profit. Yes, a bear is a person who thinks stock market will go down. Look, why a bear? You would have seen a sloth. Bear, he goes very slowly. Sloth is very slow. So when a person is not even hopeful of anything in the stock market, he is said to be a bear. So what is a bear? Who speculates share prices to fall in future. This statement is correct. On the other hand, bull. What do we say bullish? I say he is very bullish about his chances this year. Bull means what? Aggressive. Sloth is slow. Bear is slow. Bull is aggressive. So when I say a person who is a bull in stock market, the bull is that person who thinks stock market will go up. And as stock market will go up, he is going to buy shares in bulk. All right. So bear is a person who is going to sell shares. Bull is a person who speculates that share prices will go up and so either stop selling selected shares for a time period. So he either stops selling the shares or he starts even buying shares. All right. So second statement is also correct. A bull increases the number of shares. Nahi. Bull would buy shares. So he would reduce the number of shares in the stock market. This statement is wrong. A bear creates a scarcity of shares in the stock market. This statement is wrong because bull, he will be selling the shares, he will be increasing the number of shares in the market. This statement is wrong. Correct is only 1 and 2. We need to find the correct statement. All right. We need to take care of this. We need to find out. We need to read the question correctly because here he's asking about the correct statement in the next question. I'll show you. In the next question, he is asking about incorrect statement. So first responsibility of us lies in reading the question properly, and I'm very, very sure a lot of aspirants would have got this question wrong because of just not reading the statement properly. So let's see the question. Which of the following statements regarding prompt corrective action of RBI? All right, look, PCA was in not in recent news. PCA was in news till 2019, 2018 when the banks were in trouble, when the NPAs were high. But anyways, it has become a popular concept in banking chapter. So we need to know what is prompt corrective action. All right. So let's see. It aims to monitor the operation of weaker banks more closely to encourage them to conserve capital and avoid risk. This statement is correct. Second statement, it imposes certain restrictions on dividend distribution and expansion of branches by banks that are financially weak. This statement is also correct. So we need to find out which are incorrect statement. Neither of them is incorrect. Answer is D. All right. Next question is regarding sovereign bonds. A sovereign bond is a specific debt instrument issued by the government in both domestic, foreign and domestic currency. Look, point is, I have little hesitation in this question regarding the terms which are being used, regarding the language which is being used, because it is issued by the government in both foreign and domestic currency, and should not be there. It can be or. Because if talk about India, India is issuing. Look, a lot of countries are not even allowed to issue sovereign bonds in domestic currency, because no one is going to buy a bond which will be redeemable and giving domestic currency. All right, so I would say a sovereign bond is a specific debt instrument issued by the government in both foreign and domestic currency. It should be, the statement should be, the word should be over here, but even if it is and, I would take this statement as correct, because what is a sovereign bond? Sovereign bond, it is a debt instrument. Sovereign means what? Independent. Sovereign bond is a debt instrument issued by the government of a country to get resources, to get financial resources. And it can be issued in both domestic as well as foreign currency. The yield of sovereign bond is the interest rate that the government pays on issuing bonds. No, it will not be yield, it will be the coupon rate, which is the interest rate paid by the government on issuing bond. Yield is for the secondary market. Suppose I am selling the share in secondary market. All right, and if someone is buying it, then the return which he is getting as per the bond price, that is what is called bond yield. So I would say this statement as wrong. The central banks also control the supply of money within the economy by use of these bonds. Yes, if RBI has to increase liquidity, what it would do is it would buy government securities from the banks. Government securities, what it is, a type of sovereign bond. It would infuse in liquidity. Similarly, if RBI needs to reduce liquidity, it would sell government securities or government bonds and would suck out liquidity from the market. Third statement is correct, that central banks control supply of money with the economy by use of these bonds. But second statement is wrong. Look, what the key, as per the key of the commission, they are saying all three are correct. But I would contest this, because I would say that yield of sovereign bond, it is in the secondary market. It's not the interest rate which the government is giving. Government always gives the coupon rate. All right. So I would say only B. So now let's move to the next question. These are factual questions. Which of the following statements about National Payment Corporation of India is correct? It is a not-for-profit company under the provisions of Section 8 of Companies Act 2013. Yes, it is a not-for-profit company under the provisions of Section 8 Act. It was set up to provide infrastructure to the entire banking system in India for physical as well as electronic payment system. Yes, it was brought to settle physical as well as electronic payments. All right. Now this statement is also correct. National Financial Switch and Check Truncation System are flagship products of NPCL. Yes, this statement is also correct. All three statements are correct. All right. Next question is conceptual question. It's about fiscal deficit. It says if the fiscal deficit ratio is too high, it leads to higher rate of interest, because look, if fiscal deficit is increasing, it would lead to crowding out impact. Crowding out impact means what? Because if fiscal deficit is high, it means government's borrowing will be more. If government's borrowing is more, then the banks would be left with less funds to lend to entrepreneurs, to corporates, and the banks will be lending to those corporates and entrepreneurs at high rate of interest. That is what is called crowding out impact. All right. So if fiscal deficit ratio is too high, it leads to higher rate of interest for borrowings of private entrepreneurs and businesses. This statement is correct. FRBM Act 2003 suggests bringing the fiscal deficit down to about 3% plus or minus 2% of GDP. This statement is wrong. Why it is wrong? Because FRBM Act, it never gave a range. It just gave a number. Fiscal deficit should be brought to 3%. This plus minus 2%, it has come from CPI should be kept at 4% plus minus 2%, right? But this 2% is never in the picture for FRBM Act. Second statement is wrong. Answer is, we have to find out the correct statement. Answer is A only. Next question, again, very good conceptual question. Consider the following statements. GDP evaluated at current market price. It is nominal GDP. GDP evaluated at current market price is not the right metric to compare the GDP figures of different countries, because yes, when inflation in different countries is different, how can we compare nominal GDP of one country with nominal GDP of other country? Like in the recent past, like if we talk about India and US, India's inflation has been quite high in the recent past. On the other hand, US inflation hasn't been that high. Inflation target in US is 2%. For us, inflation target is 4% plus minus 2%. So when the inflation is high and when we are calculating GDP at current prices, we just cannot compare GDP of India with GDP of US, because we cannot compare nominal GDP of US with nominal GDP of India because of difference in inflation. All right. So this statement is wrong. GDP evaluated at current market price. So this statement is correct actually. That GDP evaluated at current market price is not the right metric to compare GDP figures of different countries. This statement is correct. Nominal GDP is calculated in such a way that goods and services are evaluated at constant set of prices. ये बिल्कुल गलत है, because nominal GDP is for current prices. Nominal GDP is calculated at current prices. Real GDP is calculated at constant prices. This statement is wrong. If the real GDP changes, we can be sure that it is the volume of production which is undergoing changes. Yes, because real GDP is what? It is GDP calculated at constant prices. All right. So if real GDP of this year is changing with respect to real GDP of previous year, it means that yes, the volume of production, it is undergoing changes. All right, because here we are assuming that real GDP FC. All right, that because nowadays when we are using GVA, so now we have only nominal GVA or real GVA. So now what we have is, if I talk about real GDP would increase only if production is increasing. On the other hand, if we had taken GDP as real GDP MP, real GDP MP can increase if production increases, or indirect taxes increase, or subsidies reduce. So if that would have been given, that if real GDP FC would have been given over here, this statement would have been 100% correct. But if they are saying real GDP MP, then we could have made this statement is wrong, because real GDP MP would increase because of increase in production, or increase in indirect taxes, or of reduction in subsidies. But here we do not have that option of only one. All right. So this second is wrong. It means this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. We are left with only 1 and 3. All right. Answer is C for this question, even though the question could have been formulated a little bit better, where they could have said real GDP FC, or not just real GDP. All right. Now let's move to next question. This question is actually sort of a repeat from the UPSC examination. which of the following statements regarding non-fungible tokens are correct? All right. What is non-fungible token? Non-fungible token is that the real life assets like paintings, like books, like even real estate, they can be converted into a token form, into a digital form. So everything from design, everything from drawings, photos, videos, GIFs, music, in-game items, selfies, and even tweets can be turned into non-fungible tokens. This statement is correct. NFT can be traded and exchanged with the use of blockchain technology. This statement is wrong. So cryptocurrencies, they can be traded, they can be exchanged, but non-fungible token is unique. It's unique for every item. It says, suppose there's a cat. For another cat, there will be different NFT. For one cat, there will be different NFT. If this cat is producing kittens, there will be different NFT for it. NFT for the kittens. All right. So NFT cannot be traded and exchanged with the use of blockchain technology. Second statement is wrong. Answer is A only. All right. All right. Now let's move to next question. The question is, consider the following statements regarding domestically systematically important insurers. The way we have domestic systematic important banks for banking sector, for insurance sector we have domestically systematically important insurers. The RBI nominates certain insurers as 9. RBI is for the banking sector. RBI would nominate domestically systematic important banks. IRDA, it nominates certain insurers as domestically systematic important insurers. First statement is wrong. So obviously these two are negated. Currently, LIC, GIC, New India Assurance Limited have been designated as domestically systematic important insurers. This statement is correct. All right, so second is correct. So we are left with only what? 2 and 3. All right. So answer is C. Next question. Is 55th question. Consider the following statements regarding e-rupee. E-rupee is a voucher to facilitate cashless payment. Yes, it is a voucher. It was brought to make payments for, for COVID vaccine. That was the main reason why e-rupee was brought. In some special circumstance, e-rupee can be permitted for cash out or cash back on redemption. No, they cannot be redeemed. All right, for e-rupee vouchers, we can just make the payment, but we cannot get cash or we cannot redeem it. So second statement is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. The NPCL has boarded banks that will be the issuing authority for e-rupee voucher. This statement is correct. 1 and 3 are correct. Answer is D. All right. Then 59th question. Consider the following statements regarding RoadTap scheme. RoadTap scheme is a WTO compliant scheme that replaced merchandise exports from India scheme. This statement is correct because in a lot of countries have had like complaint to WTO that under MEIS scheme, India is giving a lot of subsidies which are going against WTO. Therefore, India removed that scheme and brought a new scheme called RoadTap scheme. So it is a WTO compliant scheme which replaces merchandise exports from India scheme. This statement is correct. And this scheme reimburses currently unrefunded central, state and local taxes and duties. Yes, a lot of taxes which were earlier unrecoverable, unrefunded, now they will be refunded through RoadTap scheme. This statement is also correct. Answer is both 1 and 2. In the key, this statement is given as wrong. Second is given as wrong. No, I have cross-checked it multiple times. Only, yes, this statement is correct. It is reimbursing currently unrefunded central, state and local taxes and duties. So both statements are correct. 59th is C. Consider the following statements for ways and means advances. Look, ways and means advances, they were brought in 1997. That is, if the center and state, they have short-term cash mismatch, they can use that money, they can use this facility to borrow from RBI. That is what is called WMA. So it is a facility for the center and the state to borrow from RBI. This statement is correct. These borrowings are meant purely to help them to tide over long-term mismatch. Look, it is not long-term mismatch. It should be short-term mismatch. So this statement is wrong. The interest rate on WMA is the repo rate. This statement is correct. So 1 and 3 are correct. Answer is C. Key is giving some other answer, but that is wrong. 1 and 3 is the correct answer because it's not for long-term mismatch. It is for short-term mismatch. All right. And then is Swamithav scheme, 64th question. With reference to Swamithav scheme, consider the following statement. It is launched by Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. No, it is launched by Ministry of Panchayati Raj. It's scheme for rural areas. All right. So this statement is wrong. It is a centrally sponsored scheme. No, it is a central sector scheme. Only center is putting money into this. This statement is also wrong. It aims to allow citizens to use their property as a financial asset for taking loans and other financial benefits. Yes, Swamithav, we can understand from the name, it's going to provide them ownership. So it will allow citizens to use their property as financial assets for taking loans and other financial benefits. This statement is correct. We need to find out correct statement. Answer is D only. All right. So that completes the discussion of all economic questions from the Jammu Kashmir Civil Service Examination. A lot of questions are very, very good. Conceptual questions, factual questions, but few questions, they had some doubts in that. They had some doubts in it. The language is not correct. A lot of statements were like ambiguous. Like if this statement is, this question is correct, the previous one I told you, there is some issue in that. So, but overall, I would give a very, I'm not the one to give verdict, but like the question paper was really, really very nice. One should have attempted out of like the 6 plus 9. Out of 14 questions, if one was properly prepared, he could get at least 10 or 11 correct. All right. All the best for your mains exam. Take care.